Aloha, I'm Kirsten Baumgart-Turner, and this is Sustainable Hawaii, streaming live on thinktechhawaii.com and posted later on YouTube on the ThinkTech Hawaii channel. If you have questions during our show, I invite you to tweet us at ThinkTechHI or call in now. We have that capability. The phone number is 415-871-2474. In most of the world, indigenous and traditional wisdom was ignored and lost in the modern era, along with languages and the cultures they held together. Our guest today has embarked upon an ambitious project to regain traditional thought about the living intelligence in our natural resources and the sustainable balance created by the cycles of nature. Since his arrival from Florida in 1994, Tom has immersed himself in everything Hawaiian. Graduating from the University of Hawaii in 2004 with a degree in education, he also became a cinematographer while teaching Hawaiian history. He's dedicated the last 2 years to helping resolve environmental challenges by understanding the natural world through traditional thought. Tom is here today to share his project, Ho'omai Kapono, and the principles of realigning with the environment for global health and harmony. Welcome, Tom.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us, and especially on such short notice. I was very privileged to hear about your project. I'd like the rest of our community and our watchers on the mainland and elsewhere to know, what is Ho'omai Kapono all about?
Ho'omai Kapono is it's a movie that has expanded into a project that is dedicated towards understanding the environment from a very traditional, empathetic relationship.
And when you say empathetic, what does that mean exactly?
The reason why I use traditional as a keyword instead of Hawaiian is because I believe that this is an intelligence inside in everyone, and the focus is Hawaii, but take traditional perception and you have to have relationship and that understanding of attunement that you can't get from academia or most things that we currently engage in.
So it's elevating, excuse the pun, downwards into our na'au, into our gut and our soul and our feelings?
You could say that. The way I would look at it is it's something that, if, for instance, in Hawaii, you had generations of people that lived in attunement. It's like as simple as that. And so from that, they created systems that matched the environment, and they had a value system that was designed to perpetuate indefinitely. The belief is that everyone has the ability to understand that relationship, and it's something in the modern world that we don't engage in, right? It's a little bit like that.
So it's not defined or contained only within indigenous cultures, but within all of us, but we haven't been accessing it because of the layers of different perspectives since the Renaissance even, or
you could look at it like that. The way I view things is I try to view things in a big picture, multi-generational thinking. Right, a lot of our thinking today is immediate. We think of immediacy, we think of politics, economics, education. We view the world through those lenses, which doesn't really match traditional thought, which is expanded into multi-generational thinking. And so when you back up, you see, I tend to think of things as humanity as one living organism, and the component with the strongest affinity with the environment you could call indigenous. So throughout the world, whether it's Australia, Africa, North America, or in Hawaii, the component of humanity with a direct affinity for these islands, you could say was Hawaiian, right? But humanity is all one organism, and we all have these components within us. I would say we have the capacity, yeah.
So Ho'omai Kapono, and correct me if I'm mispronouncing it, is a project to educate people about that affinity, to reconnect us?
It's to inspire, but with the project I work so closely with Hawaiian people because I have to. It's like I gotta be transparent in order to do this project. So the project really does focus on Hawaiian people as the backbone. I believe that it will always remain that way. And so for sustainability to happen in Hawaii, it really has to match that traditional cultural backbone. I don't think it can truly exist without that. So for me, I have to work very closely with certain kupuna that have, or people that have like an active traditional understanding. It's active in them. So for me, I gotta be transparent as possible, but there are times where I can explain, and you could say educate and definitely inspire. Yeah.
So the project, tell me exactly all that it entails.
It really, you know, if you engage in traditional thought or perception, you have to start with the na'au first, the intuition first. And so I definitely engage in Western conceptualization as well, but it always starts from here, so that guides who I meet, how I interact with them, what we talk about, and it all has to line up with that. And so as you start doing that project, you adhere to, you have a certain intimacy with what you're doing, and I couldn't do this project without an active relationship or an understanding. And so when you meet kupuna, for instance, if they sense the door is open to share, they will. And then it becomes non-political, non-racial, non-socioeconomic, nothing like that, because in tradition, you follow your na'au. So
Right.
there are these kupuna that are out there. There's information in them that they don't even know they have, but they get around the right person, and then it opens up.
So your project is an effort to capture that in a way that it can be shared via
Yeah.
the film that you're creating?
By the film is the primary concrete product, I guess, and then the website, and then also I've been.
Sorry, the website, I think that's
Yeah,
key.
yeah.
The website is an attempt to gather this information, but it's also...
It correlates with the movie, and it expands on some of the ideas that will be in the movie. Right now, we're in the early stages of production, which means I've done a series of interviews, already have a lot of footage, but haven't launched into the principal cinematography, for instance. So the website expands on a lot of the ideas that will be in the film, and it's very research-driven, but not academia as much as analysis. So for instance, with Hawaiian history, just take that for instance, if you learn Hawaiian studies, Hawaiian history, you're focusing basically, when you get down to it, a wartime model of a certain family that was documented, right? Because we use reference instead of analysis as much, but my project is to understand the natural cycles and the systems built into that. So you got to look at Hawaii, the traditional classical Oahu setting, which is Maili Kukahi Kakuieva, Kukani Loko, Paliku is a whole different world. So.
Well, show
Yeah.
us some of the slides you brought to help explain this, for us to visualize.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's see those first 5 slides.
Oh, okay, so it focuses on Oahu, and this is a satellite image I got from Ev Wingert, who is a cartography professor at UH, and the original image is 40 gigabytes. It's a humongous file, but this is the lower res version, Oahu-A-Lau, and then this is I spent about 1,000 hours making a traditional map, and if you look closely at this, it's a shaded relief, and you can see the outlines of the traditional coastlines and fish ponds and things like that. So this is like the working reference point for understanding the island.
So unlike the maps that we look at today,
Yeah.
these are the old names or original names.
Yeah,
that
they're
we
the
no longer
essence.
acknowledge.
They're the story. This is the if you understand in traditional thought, these are stories. These names are actually stories, and the essence is still there. You gotta intuitively connect with it, and then it will begin to make sense, yes.
And each name, you said, tells a story, so it also tells then the history, because in Hawaiian culture, the stories were containment of knowledge and the way in which knowledge was passed.
It's a perception too, like Wahi-a-Lau, for instance. Perfect example, the Western definition that almost everyone recites is place of noise, Wahi-a-Lau, from the kukani loko, the drums, the thunder, the surf, whatever you call it. But then you go to the noahuna of Wahi-a-Lau, and it means time revolving eternally. And that comes from Intipilahi Paki, who is a noahuna expert, you know. So,
Will you explain? No.
Oh, no. So you take a Hawaiian word, and remember, this is a very deep, profound, intelligent culture. We can't marginalize it by a definition, right? So the 3 layers of a word, right? There's a literal, there's a kauna, and people are familiar with those 2 aspects of a word, but the noahuna is the core universal essence that connects with universal principles, right? And big picture, deep spiritual essence of words. So, for instance, the noahuna of Wahiawa is not place of noise, is not even kukani local drums, is time revolving eternally, right? And the kupuna most connected with that place, they understand that because it's been imbued into them. I don't know how else to explain it, but that's the reality of traditional perception, not academic.
So the next slide.
Yeah. So that's the same one, Oahu-A-Lau. There's many names for Oahu, by the way. Yeah.
These are some of the kupuna that you've been working with?
Kupuna is a frame of mind, so these people would say, actually. So kupuna is an age, but it's also a wisdom level. So these are the people I primarily work with. Keone Nunes, top left, who seems to have the widest breadth of traditional knowledge. Anna Khan, next one over on the right, top right. She has worked with the moon calendar, lived by it for 25 years. Moon calendar is environmental time, right? Traditional. Calvin Ho is someone that is not of genealogical descent, but he perpetuates the value of aloha through every cell of his body. That's important. And then my friend Tom Linchenko on the top right is Kupuna of Kukani local and has the most intimate, active relationship with that place. Rick Barboza, bottom left, he is a native Hawaiian plant person for this island, very involved with landscaping, and go to his nursery, it's amazing. Of course, Manu Meyer is she's a friend that is a very intelligent voice of Hawaiian traditional thinking. Pono Shem, his auntie was Auntie Pilahi Paki, so he has the working understandings of the Noahuna. And then Kapono Souza, similar age as me, similar disposition, and a younger person that is a fully active traditional practitioner, you could say. I don't know if that's the right word. But yeah.
I think you're incredibly lucky because many people don't get to work with these kinds of deep thinkers and as you would say, not thinkers, but feelers, but people who intuitively understand sustainability from a traditional perspective. Yeah. So you mentioned also the website, and you're gathering a great deal of information.
Moon calendar.
Talk to us about this information on the moon calendar.
So one of the things, I had to throw out the book on just about everything that was out there, the research, the maps that were used, and our concept of the island, and then the moon calendar. This is a big one because almost every moon calendar you would see is based on a Gregorian thinking, incremental 24-hour day thinking, which is not traditional thinking. The traditional thought of the moon is, where's the moon? How big is it? When does it rise? When does it set? In relation to sunrise and sunset. So this is a calendar I made. I believe it will be at Namea, the bookstore, with Meyer in the near future. But this shows what they would actually see on each of the names. And they're cycles of time. They're not days. They're not even phases. They're cycles. And it's
and
different.
Everything in that cycle
Yeah.
had a meaning for the way of life conducted during that time, correct?
Yeah, and it's just an attunement. You got to think 24/7. They knew where that moon was.
24/7, meaning at midday, people were aware where the moon was, whether or not they saw it.
Yeah, it could be on the opposite side of the Earth, Honua, whatever you call it. But they knew it was intuitive. It was intuitive. They didn't have to think about it. But yeah.
And how did that influence the way in which they interacted with their environment?
Think of the environment as an aspect of self. And you look at the old, not old, but mo'olelo. You look at what a halau.
I'm going to pause you there.
Sorry.
We're going to take a quick break so that you can really tell me more about that.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Aloha, namaskar, and hello. My name is Anu Hittel, and I host the show called Climate Change Beyond Outrage. We go beyond outrage to find solutions to climate problems facing people, nations, and the world. I hope you will join me here every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. We broadcast live from thinktechhawaii.com. Aloha and bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. My show on Think Tech is Center Stage. I interview artists of all different ilk on the show, and we talk about what they do and how they do it. Those are both really fascinating. What I find most fascinating about all of my interviews is talking to people about why they do what they do, what the process does for us, what the actual artistic process is. I hear all the time from people that they watch the show and they feel inspired. My guests tell me a lot that they feel inspired to go home and create something new and exercise, flex that artistic muscle. And I hope you will too. I hope you'll join us on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock on the Think Tech Hawaii digital series.
You're watching Think Tech Hawaii, exploring the world we live in, recognizing the changes around us, and looking into the future of our lives together in these islands. Great content for Hawaii from Think Tech.
Hi, you're back with Sustainable Hawaii, and we're talking with Tom Penna about his incredible project, Ho'omai Kapono. And when we left off, you were telling me, I asked about the relationship of people with the environment, and you took it one step further.
And I think that when you take a look at even what Oahu-A-Lau is actually doing, what Mo'olelo are talking about, and when you get down to the bare essence of it, is that the environment is an aspect of yourself, and it's a direct reflection of you. Like literally a sunset is a part of you. Literally the night sky is a part of you. That's traditional perception. Right? So you could write a zillion books about it, but without the perception there, it's like idle talk in a way, but that's traditional perception.
Well, in a way that fits Judeo-Christian thought too, because we talk about God within us, not just God above.
And that's another part of this project I'd like to emphasize is this is completely non-political, non-economic motivated. It's let's step back completely and be absorbed in objectivity and resolve a conflict that we have with the environment. And so therefore, I'd love to do talks with people of different religions to get together to see how the perspectives align in some way. So religion I appreciate you said Judeo-Christian, so.
Yeah, so. Yeah. From the non-religious perspective, and really what you're talking about is the bare essence of humanity and the world that we live in.
Yeah. And
that we have to understand that relationship and reestablish it, reconnect with it.
It's kind of like it's right there anyways, but if you actively participate with it, then things can manifest. I don't know how to explain it, but the naming of the project, right? It took a long time, and I spent a lot of time at Ku'ukaniloko with Tom, with Kupuna on Maui, that I talked with, but it finally came to a long conversation I had with Keone Nunes, and he knew what I was trying to do, and I'm like, so, but what would they say? What would Kupuna what would Kupuna from hundreds of years ago say that I'm actually doing? And he'd say, Ho'omai Kaike, which means let us, understand. And then, but I'm like, Ike is not the word. I'm like, how about Pono? It's like, okay, that's fine. Ho'omai Kapono, which means essentially to regain balance, but you go through the layers of that, and it's really got to remember the essence of who you are and your relationship to the natural world. So that's essentially what Pono implies. That's an active practice of Pono, I guess I would say.
So one of the other elements that you've been doing in this process, in the project, is taking a ton of photographs.
Yeah.
So maybe you could walk us through
the
art
website
history
too. Well,
and the website.
I saw us getting queued up for the website. I just noticed that. So if you go back to the first slide, I think you can see on the, this is the website, ho'omaikapono.org. And this starts off with our one of the preeminent focus we have, which is water. That is bottom line, fresh, clean water, right? Kanawai, right? The next slide is the homepage, and this basically movie, website, and vision are the three things that are expounded upon on this website. And then the next slide is a little bit about the movie, some of the interviews, and the scheduling, and so on. And then the next slide is some of the interviews that I have, and you can click on each of these photos and go to a little portion of the interview. So Keone, Tom, Pono, Manu, Kapono, Lemana, all these people, yeah. And then so some of the articles, there's a lot of articles, and then so for instance, one of them being, which we'll get to a little bit later, is 30 Days at Ku'ukaniloko. And the moon calendar is a big part of the website too, and an Oahu-centric view of history, which is totally different. Resources, actively updated resources, and click on the next one. Plenty of maps too, but then let's take a look at today. You could say it is La'aupau, but there's no moon of La'aupau yet. That's what you will see as the day on most calendars, right? But actually, the moon from last night, La'aukulua, just recently set, right? So in the cycle of La'aupau, which we're currently in, we're in the day, you could say, oh, La'aupau, and then we're gonna get to sunset. There's still not gonna be a moon until, if you look on this slide here, the moon is gonna rise just before midnight or about 11 o'clock. Okay, so this kind of breaks it apart from that point of view. And also with the moon calendar, something else is everyone did it differently. There was no institutionalized anything in ancient Hawaii. It was based on your relationship with the environment, and with each family would have done it a little bit differently. I'd like to emphasize that. So when did the day begin? It was different for everyone, but the names of the phases were generally the same. So I've come to understand.
So that's fascinating. Not everyone did every family then create their own moon calendar?
Essentially, it would be something like that. It wasn't, remember, they are getting guidance from the environment and the natural world constantly because they're attuned to it so deeply. And so they may have like done things at different times, or Hilo, for instance, the first night, right, might have begun a little bit differently on Waianae compared to Hilo on the Big Island, you know? This is kind of work like that.
Mm-hmm.
And each craft might have used a different reckoning of time too.
So they didn't have to do that leap year day to attune for, or the Greenwich Mean Time adjustments?
Because man-made time relies on seconds, minutes, hours, days. That's man-made time, right? And then they followed a very deep intuitive understanding of environmental time, which is the moon, the sun, of course you could say the night sky, and they're all aspects of the self, essentially.
And this slide is telling us.
Kukani Loko. Okay, so wow, this is a big one, but Kupuna Kukani Loko, this is how they see the island.
Kukani Loko is in the center.
Yeah, and so basically you could say birthing stones, for instance, but right now everyone touching this island is connected to Kukani Loko in some way. That's the view that this portrays. So the maps, I'm gonna go into all different sorts of maps that show different types of information, but that's one of them.
So the understanding of traditional thought in Hawaii is that no matter where you were on Oahu, or does this apply to the whole state?
It could apply to the whole world if you talk to Tom about it, which makes sense because you got to understand. And then when you talk to Kapono Souza, for instance, I asked, okay, where's your point of reference? And he says Mokapu, right? And Alala, point. So it's like each moku had a different area of focus. But for the whole island, you could say that Kukani Loko would be the central focus.
And right. Kukani Loko, for those who just know sites on the island in the modern terms, is a site of the traditional birthing stones. Can you tell us about those?
I would put it like this. People that are genealogically connected, and there are many people, they're the people that can pass information. I can explain what has been shared with me to a degree, but I stop at a certain level. But you could say that you got to understand that there is a kalana in the middle of this island, which is if you stood at Kukani Loko and you looked around, the whole area would be considered a kalana. We gotta erase understandings of maps and Oahu-A-Lau lines. They didn't have lines. They didn't. They measured things by hill to stream, or hill to hill, or this beach, that rock. So when you look at maps, that's the part that becomes really deceiving. People want Oahu-A-Lau lines, and there's disputes, but it was not like that. It was, you gotta understand that it is perspective-based too. Like people in Ko'olapoko would have seen the whole island differently, and they had relationships with Molokai. So their thoughts are guided just in that dish of Ko'olapoko and then to Molokai, whereas Waianae and Waialua, they're focused on Kauai. Their whole life is built with a different understanding how the island is set up. That's traditional too.
So it comes from a perspective of your relationship daily,
Yeah.
lifelong, with the environment within which you're interacting,
Which,
rather
yeah.
than pulling back the way we do, or as a cartographer,
Yeah.
to view things on a very flat or even 3D level. They saw it as multifaceted
Oh, boy.
regarding the interaction that we're personally having.
Yeah. You gotta think that we live in a world of institutionalization, if you call it that. Like, everything is institutionalized, and books encourage that as well. It's just the nature of having a book and making everyone read the same book, right? You got to think the whole world back then was built on your relationship that you're constantly engaged in. You don't have to think about it even, right? So that creates a completely different worldview. One thing I'd like to emphasize is that the academia and the books are definitely a layer of information that is important to us today, right? And so to engage in that does make sense. But to really develop relationship, maybe you use the books as a direction arrow to go, if that makes sense. Or, but if you want to build a relationship with the environment or understand things traditionally, you got to remove yourself from the academic layer, I would say.
How do you do that?
You just open up. It's that simple.
And isn't that also very place-based, though?
Totally, yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to open up in this studio and really connect. I've got to be out there in nature, experiencing.
But not necessarily, and that's why I love Pono Shim, for instance. Here's a guy that has an active part of his brain, let's say, that understands the Noahuna, the deepest esoteric meanings, but he's on the Oahu Board of Economic Development, and deals with politics and economy on a really big scale, but he has it. There he is right there. So, but here's a guy that has a deeper understanding of words and concepts Hawaiian than most people would have in the world today. So that you don't have to be in nature. You don't have to be anywhere. We remember, we think in boxes today. We think you have to be a mahiai to be sustainable, or a farmer. You have to grow organic. It's like none of that. It's not that at all. You have to have an active relationship with life.
Well, when we come back, I want to delve deeper into that concept and how we apply it for those of us who live in those boxes, cars, highways, and buildings. When we come back, we'll be right back with Sustainable Hawaii.
Aloha, I'm Keli'i Akina with the Grassroot Institute of Hawaii, and one of our delights is to be partnered with ThinkTech Hawaii and produce programs every week. Every Monday at 2 o'clock, we have a show called E Hana Kako, which means let's work together. So we bring people from all across the nation and the country, and certainly throughout the islands, together here to talk with them about how to work together, and how to work together to do the following: to build a better economy, a better government, a better society. So if you're interested in the research of our think tank, the Grassroot Institute, or if you're interested in how that's applied at the governmental and community and business levels, you'll enjoy the fascinating conversations with our guests on E Hana Kako every week on ThinkTech Hawaii at 2 o'clock on Mondays. Until our next show, I'll see you. Aloha.
15 minutes left. Hi, I'm Kirsten Baumgart-Turner, talking with Tom Penna, who has been giving us an amazing insight into a traditional thoughts about how we embrace the environment and work within it. And when we left off, you were about to tell me a little more how I, within my skyscraper or office or home, could really begin to connect at a deeper level, and how your project, Ho'omai Kapono, is going to help me to be able to do that.
I'd like to kind of frame that perspective like this. Everyone has the capacity to have that traditional quote-unquote relationship. However, you would find that certain people are genetically predisposed to certain areas. So in Hawaii, that would be Hawaiian people. So that's always going to be the backbone. The thing
It's
is,
in their DNA.
I would say literally so, yes. And that's a very important thing to understand, I would say. So when I go into it with what I'm doing, very passionate about it, I guess you would say, but I always keep that in mind. And so what I've come to understand, though, as well, is that, you can develop a relationship with the world or life or people that is, infused with that traditional perception of things. Definitely, that can go for anyone. And I would say that, how do you actually do? That's what this, basically, you got to look at it like this. If you don't understand those things about life, you're engaging in the box, let's say, right? And then so you have to open up parts of yourself that can move outside of it, at least, conveniently so. And so to do that, it's almost like you literally have to open up other neural pathways that are right there. It's just like everyone has this capability. And I don't know how else to explain it. It definitely helps to spend time actively participating with the environment, definitely. And you got to understand the environment all around you right now is psychology unfolding. So the psychology for healing is directly built in to the world around you right now. That's important to understand. Oh, Hawaiian, yeah. So traditional place names are really important for this project. And so this is a photograph from Hawaiian, and there's a series of photographs on the website that also give the place name location. So, another aspect, since we're going into the website more, is environmental concerns. And so this is a report I found that said that 2 of the most polluted public water supply wells in the United States were in Waikele.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that's correlated or connected to agricultural practices as well as the military. And then next slide. Is there another one after water?
And let's look at the video that you have about
Oh,
that.
this is a slide from the video. But so when I think of the island, I relate to, of course, our modern, locations. But I think of the island like this. I look at it like, wow, there's actually GMO farming going on in Lihue, which is one of the most important living sites for the Oahu lineage chiefs, the Lo'ali'i, that Lihue and Oahu-A-Lau were 2 of their main places of location. So that's another perspective on the same issue, for instance. And then, this is some of the concern areas when it comes to agriculture. You can see the 3 main GMO regions on the island, and then the circled areas are other larger agricultural lands. And so, and here's a video, a little graphic that I recently made. And invasive plants basically proliferate the island, the pollution areas.
And the the added yellow circles were?
Just areas of concern when it came to pollution, right there, if we could.
Right there in the Pearl Harbor Basin. Tell us about that.
That one's really interesting. And can we cue up the traditional map again? I think there might be a close-up of Oahu-A-Lau.
The last map.
Yeah. Okay. So very few people. I don't know why environmentalists haven't grabbed this one, but you got to study the natural cycles of the island. If you want sustainability, you got to try to match that as best as possible, right? One of the indicators of health of this island is something that people rarely discuss, and that's the West Lock of Pearl Harbor, right? And the fish, the anaiholo, that traditionally would fatten up there throughout the year until October, and then they would come out of the West Lock and they go around the island counterclockwise, hitting each muliwai, estuary where the ocean and streams meet, and go around to Laia and Malai Kahana. And they'd stay there until about March, right? And then they'd split up and continue counterclockwise, so I've been told, or come back clockwise, but go back up into the West Lock. Okay, for that to happen healthfully, all the factors of a healthy island have to come into play. Healthy fresh water, you have to have all the estuaries intact, you have to have the food supply for the fish intact, everything has to match. So that's one of the preeminent indicators of health for this island, is that cycle, and Naiholo.
So that's obviously a very systemic approach to understanding sustainability and environmental care. Mm-hmm. But it's what you're saying, it's a system that we haven't looked at in terms of the patterns of the fish migrations, allowing them to grow and us to access them are totally dependent upon the water quality in West Loch, which is part of the Pearl Harbor Basin, which we know has a great deal of industrial shipping.
Yeah.
And that
yeah.
certainly impacts it.
So remember, sustainability is to perpetuate indefinitely, at least until nature decides otherwise, right? So
This is the West
Oh
Loch.
yeah, this is part of the map. I want to draw attention to the map that I created for this. So I spent about 1,000 hours or so creating a 10-foot map of the island, and I guess
Wow.
Maile Namea is going to put it on a wall or something
Make
like
it
that. So she
accessible.
said, but this is kind of a close-up. You can see, if you can imagine, the whole island as big as you see it on the screen right now. But so anyways, Kaiho Pala'ai, right there, that West Loch is where they would traditionally fatten up throughout the year. They would grow throughout the year, and they would shoot out and go counterclockwise around the island. I think the next slide shows Ko. Does the next slide show, like, yeah, okay, right there. So picture them, you can see Oahu-A-Lau, Pu'uloa, right? That's the 3 locks, right? So they come out of
Up
there.
on the left side of the
On
screen.
the top left, yes. And they come around and they go to Ke'ehi, and then you can see the original coastline around Honolulu area just filled with fish ponds. That was a nutrient-rich area, right? And they hit each, there you go. They'd hit each mulibai. You can see where the streams flow into the ocean. This is part of the map again that I made for this project.
So each of the lighter blue circles are fish ponds, where
Yeah.
some of the ancient fish ponds are.
Yeah, that's traditional fish ponds. So, and then they go around the whole island counterclockwise. I think, is the next slide, okay, there you go. You can see today the modern infrastructure that basically drastically altered the natural environment. Now,
That is a huge eye-opener. I don't know that I've ever seen a map like that superimposes over original
yeah. So-
ecosystems what we have now in terms of the built environment from human impact.
And see, that's the thing. The idea is that what we're doing can't possibly allow for sustainability when all the natural cycles are shut down. When, on the island, how many streams are healthy from Mauka to Makai? How many flow the whole way healthfully? Virtually
Well,
none.
This is why the work that was done a year and a half ago, I believe, with the DLNR and developing the Rain Follows the Forest, the watershed plan for Oahu is so important. And the most important thing now is taking that plan and making sure that we're planning all of our infrastructure and our human build out to support that and restore it.
And it only makes sense because, okay, big concept, and one to wind down with too, is this. Preeminent and traditional thought throughout the world, and definitely here in Hawaii, is water, right? So the word for water in Hawaiian we would know is vai or wai, right? The word for law is kanavai, right? So you get that from a dictionary, law is kanavai, but you break it down in a traditional sense, what that means is every man-made law has to trace back to the root essence of the management of water, because the land tells you what to do. That's traditional thinking, right? And so we're far from that. If we can't follow the kanavai, it's never gonna stick, no matter what.
So are you putting the knowledge of the kanavai on your website?
There's a little bit about it, and I'll do more. It's like I'm working with a lady, Anna Khan, the lady I was talking about, to really explore that concept. In an interview I have on the site, she explains a little bit about that. I'm gonna develop that more.
I remember last year at the Book and Music Fair Festival down at Honolulu-A-Lau, one of the new books that was debuted, and I forget who the author's name was, but it's about the traditional Hawaiian concepts and words for rain, that there were so many hundreds, because they understood the essence of the differences between all kinds of rain and the essence of the water that it produced in the cycles. And I wish I could remember the title of the book, but a real eye-opener. I imagine you'll have that as a reference on your website.
Yeah, I just got that book, actually.
Yeah. Very, very enlightening.
That's the intimacy with water. Remember, water is fundamental to life. When they go and research other parts of the world or the other planets, what are they looking for? Not food, not technology, water.
Right.
That's preeminent.
So one of the things that we're always asking our guests to do is to make sure that they take care of their water, conserve their water, certainly make sure that they don't use water bottles. What are some ways we can reconnect through traditional ways to water so that we can absorb and embody some of the traditional thought?
Go to a stream, find a stream healthy enough, try to drink from it. If it's not healthy, purify it. Go to that stream again. That's as traditional as you can get right there. Find the wells, find the springs, because they are there.
And maybe get involved with our local watershed partnerships?
That would
support
make
them?
sense too. That's another aspect of that concept, yes.
Yeah. And I want to close, because we only have a minute or two left, with mentioning that you're developing this film, and you're developing the website that is open access to us all,
Yeah.
right, so that we can all partake of this knowledge as you develop it.
Mm-hmm.
But you also need some funding to continue this project. So where might we go to contribute to the Ho'omai Kapono project?
Well, if people feel so inclined, yeah, there is on the website a place supporting this film, and there's a PayPal link there. But
Okay.
I'm open, but I'm not asking. It's a touchy thing because but it is there, and I'm going to do a couple of Indiegogo campaigns over the next couple of months too. Yeah.
Terrific.
Mm.
Well, Tom, I'm looking at the
Yeah.
images. This is also from your website.
Yeah. This is it.
And I just encourage all of our listeners to go to the website and to check out some of the short videos and know that it's changing all the time. And we
Yeah.
thank you very much for your dedication and for your sharing today. Mahalo.
Yeah. Wow.
Aloha. And please tune in next Tuesday for Sustainable Hawaii to learn about more interesting people and the things they're doing. Aloha.
I gotta use the restroom.
That was good, Zuri. Me too. Pop for that.
Watching ThinkTech Hawaii, Hawaii's leading digital media platform for civic engagement, raising public awareness on tech, energy diversification, and globalism. Great content for Hawaii from ThinkTech.